Okay, so it looks like we are live. Hey everybody, welcome to this sort of like ad hoc last minute announcement video. I know we're running just a little late. I hope it'll be okay and it'll be worth it. So here's the bottom line is that I think you guys people have been watching our Facebook page would know that back in September we had expected to have kind of an early access release, and I wrote a admittedly cryptic and coy post that says, hey, that's been delayed. But it wasn't anything bad. What it was we just had to make sure that some things got in order. And now that some news has been made, we wanted to make sure that you knew right away. So I think I wanted to start with just a quick history because there's going to be people here who have never seen any of this stuff. And so I want to make sure that kind of getting up to speed. It was back in 2013, actually, that we first ran into Redwall. And as a matter of fact, it sort of fell in our laps. And to be quite honest, at that point, I had never heard of Redwall. Maybe somewhere I'd seen a book somewhere, but frankly, I didn't know anything about it. But bottom line is we got engaged in this, and pretty soon we realized that there's just something really, really cool going on here. So in 2013, as a really delicate sort of like first toe in the water, we ran a Kickstarter. And the whole point of the Kickstarter was to create a Minecraft adventure to sort of test the waters and see what people thought of it. And that actually went quite well, quite a bit better than we expected. And the product of that was a Minecraft standalone adventure that was called The Corsair's Last Treasure. And because the Kickstarter got a little bit overfunded, we actually had an expansion, kind of a stretch goal, which was a Minecraft server called Abbeycraft, which I'm pretty sure is still all out there and live, and although frankly I haven't been on in a while. What happened after that was there was this sort of weird little limbo period, and frankly for things that really we had nothing to do with and it wasn't under our control, is there was a lot of ambiguity going on about what was going to happen with the Redwall brand in general. And there wasn't a lot we could do, but rather than unplug, we sort of like planned for the best. And we had expected that we were going to make an adventure game. We had planned to make an adventure game, and you'll see that if you go back to the Kickstarter, like that was clearly the plan that we were working on. But there's years in here where we were just sort of like on a low burn. We were still posting to Facebook, we were still making concept art and working on prototypes, but it was sort of uncertain what was going to happen next. And then it was around 2017 that really that fog started to clear up. In fact, I think that if you're into it, you can go back to our Facebook page and you'll see that the pace of posts really picked up around that time because the details started to come into focus. We started to see what was really going to happen, and but there was just a lot of paperwork to do. So in hindsight, having never done any kind of a license deal before, I had no idea what to expect, and I probably jumped the gun. I probably made announcements way too soon, thinking that agreements in principle would become sort of formal agreements quickly, when in fact there's just a lot of work to do. So mea culpa for making all of that announcements too soon. But some folks have made the suggestion that we have been, quote, working on this for years, and that's not true, at least not in any meaningful sense. We have been working on the paperwork for years, but really on the project is actually pretty recently, like less than a year that we've been on full throttle. In fact, probably it was around summertime of 2017 when things really got where there was nothing else in our product base, and we started working on this really in earnest. Now, on the bright side, we'd also done a whole lot of prep work, and so we could just jump right into it and start making models and animations. Like, we were really prepared for that. And I think that we've been able to make really quick progress. But I want to be clear, like, we have not been busting on this since 2013. That's not accurate, if that matters to you. Okay, all that said and done, that just sets the stage of where we got. So the first big announcement that I wanted to give you guys today is we have a better license. What was sort of like vague and uncertain originally has now firmed up to be a new sort of extended license for 6 games. So we are going to make 6 games now that we've hinted at this already, so this may not be entirely news to you, but right now I want to make it sort of formal. In this case, you can sort of think about these as 6 smaller games. We've been calling sort of episodic games on and off. And so this is how we're decided to move forward with this. Right now you can see sort of the working titles of the of the 4 adventure games there, the Scout, the Miner, and the Archer. These are designed to be single-player adventure games, and each one introduces a new species. So the Scout is framed around a mouse, and the Miner is framed around a mole, and the Archer is framed around a squirrel. And then in the Pirate, which takes place concurrent to the events around when Clooney attacks Redwall Abbey, the pirate is, Clooney. So these are working titles, and I don't know if they will change, but right now those are the placeholders. And the other 2 slots I will talk about a little bit later. Something I want to be clear about, because lots of people ask, is that these are all going to be new content. These are new stories, new characters, new guys. So while you will be interacting with and you will be proximal to events in the books, it's not, we're not recreating scenes from the books. It's not sort of the game of Matthias or Redwall or Martin the Warrior. It's not the recreation of the book. So these are new content and new stories. And for us, that's a huge win. We love the opportunity to kind of explore this world. There's so much great stuff. And so this gives us some opportunity to create kind of new storylines, new structures, new characters. It's super fun. So that's what we've been saying all along, but I wanted to sort of make it official. I'm certain that we'll have a lot more to say about kind of our high-level plans on this in the coming weeks and months, but especially wanted to get you up to speed on exactly what the plan is and sort of make it official. And the second big announcement today is that we are looking for Steam Early Access by Christmas. And yes, that's like a week from now. So we've been planning for this a long time. So this might seem weird to be all last minute, but it's only the announcement that's last minute. So here's the deal about early access. I know that a lot of people, this isn't their favorite choice. And when we got this new license, I figured what we could have done is we could have said, hey, the license has been increased. We got a ton of work to do, and we'll see you in 2 years. Like, we could have just gone dark and got busy. But we felt, all in all, that folks have been waiting. One, you've been waiting a long time for something like this. Whether or not we spoke up too early or not, I know that there's a hunger for this. But our fans are just frankly too awesome. Like, the fans here for this group have been so supportive and so helpful and so just like engaged with what we're doing. Going dark felt like the wrong play. And so people have certainly abused early access in the past, but it really feels like the right call here to get people involved as soon as possible. So we are pushing to have an early access launch of a kind of a mid portion of the Scout right away. Now it's important, if you don't know early access, what to expect. What we are expecting to launch is basically a single level that's good and polished and solid and playing through. That's a level called Old Moss Creek. And for the sake of simplicity, this is designed as a peaceful puzzle-solving exploration level. There's no enemies, so this one's chill. We want to introduce the world. We want to introduce the main sort of movement mechanics and puzzle mechanics. We want to get that out to you first. I think we'll have some additional bonus content in the early access, which is probably going to be a preview of a different level, which is entirely different. It's a race. There's an enemy. It's fast-paced and hectic. So we will probably have additional bits in there. But the important thing to realize is that this is not a complete game. This is getting the fans to get something in their hands as quickly as possible. And frankly, we just didn't want to miss Christmas. It's a big window. It would be a shame to miss it. And we're far enough along that we're comfortable releasing something to play. And we want feedback. This is an opportunity for people to really talk about what they like, what they don't like, what can be improved. From the very beginning, we made a commitment to make it quality and to make it right and not to try to make it fast. That's why we've been really coy about dates, because we just don't want to be bound by a date that's sort of not driven by better decisions about quality and gameplay and that kind of thing. So this still applies. In fact, it applies more now than ever. Is we really want the feedback from the people who are going to play this game, and it's not always clear sort of what people want out of game. And we know that we can't make everybody happy with one game. Like, different people like different genres, but we're going to try to give something for everybody. And that's also going to come up with some of the other titles I want to tell you about. So let's see here. I think that's good enough for the early access thing. Let me tell you kind of what to expect. We're expecting probably a $15 retail price per episode. And then we have an early access discount of probably 40%. We needed to run this by kind of all the powers that be, so to speak. But this is what we're expecting. And then as we release additional builds that have more and more content, more and more level, that discount will go down so that when it's finally released, we're looking for $15 retail per episode. So when we're all done, we expect enough scope to be appropriate for like a $60 large scale game. But that happens little by little. Also, we're using this word episodic, and I don't think that should give the impression that we're making sort of a Telltale style game. That's not the case. It's more about understanding that these narrative driven games here, that they do happen in smaller bits, but that kind of stack on one another. So I just want to give people the right impression for that. Let's see here. I'll move on to the third announcement. And by the way, there's going to be time for questions and answers, so we'll do that at the end. I probably can't answer all the questions, but I'll answer as many as I can. And that they're going to have a name change. Given the expanded nature of what we're doing now, The Warrior Reborn was a title that was brought up first sort of to imagine a single player, sort of single experience. But as the plans have evolved, it seems now probably to sort of cloud the issue instead of help it. So we're shifting the title to be something that is a brand mark. So we're going to call all the games kind of under the title An Epic Tale of Redwall. May change just a little bit, but right now it feels pretty good. And then individual titles will have their own sort of sub-brand. One of which is our next announcement. I kind of rushed back that, didn't I? The next announcement is that we already have a second game in work. And I'm actually really excited about this. It's quite different. Right now this is called Escape the Gloomer. And so this is a different adventure in the same series. And this goes back, in case you couldn't guess, go back to the days of Cotir and Zarmina Green Eyes. And so we've got... I'm just really jazzed about this. We met Scott Adams, I want to say about 2 years ago. And if you don't know Scott Adams, he is not the Dilbert artist, although same name. Scott Adams is a guy who, like, pretty literally invented all computer adventure gaming. So going back to the late 70s, early 80s, Scott invented this technology, and I don't know if that's official or whatever, but darn close enough, of text adventures. And so when it was back in the days of Zork and Pirate Island and stuff like this, Scott was a really, really powerful pioneer in this field. And he's just a rockin' adventure gamer. So he writes some of the best puzzles, and I think from a kind of a retro nostalgia perspective, this is right around the same time that Redwall was coming out, just a little bit earlier. So for me, growing up, like, playing Scott Adams Adventures was like part of my formative years, where I got into gaming. In fact, the very first game my buddy Keith and I ever built was trying to copy some of his games. And so Keith and Clark and I, we would build these text adventure games on the TI 99. And so that's really where I got started with this stuff. So I can't tell you how glad I am to be working with Scott on this episode called Escape the Gloomer. Now, something I hadn't probably made clear, the notion is for all 6 of these episodes to be really tightly related. So these aren't individual sort of standalone things, although you certainly can play them standalone, but they're meant to really dovetail with one another. So there's a piece of Escape the Gloomer that directly relates to the Scout and vice versa. So we really want to be able to interact with these two things. And so there's a real reason and reward for playing kind of the whole sequence. Also, Escape the Gloomer is a different presentation. We're doing something that is sort of, if you imagine the text adventures of old, but then add a bunch of new modern tech like speech to text and voiceovers and dynamic music. All of a sudden now we have what we're probably best described. Sam described it as an interactive radio drama, which I thought was a great way to frame it. So the idea is, like, what if you could play a text adventure but by talking to it, and it could talk back, and you could do it in your car while you're driving or through Siri or whatever else. Exactly how this is going to shape up will depend on the platform. But we're really excited to see where this could go technology-wise. Just as a hint, there's if you remember on an earlier slide, I mentioned the sixth scene was a TBD, which is to be determined. We're working with an outfit to try to do the sixth title as possibly a virtual reality, sort of escape the room kind of adventure. I don't want to say too much about that just yet until we see if it works, frankly. But it's looking good, and we're excited about it. And we feel that the spirit of Redwall, especially Redwall Abbey, is just perfect for that kind of VR experience. So that's rough plans. Don't hold me to it. But that's kind of what we're doing. But I really wanted to lift up Escape the Gloomer. This is one of the hand-painted shots that right now is expected to go in the game. We'll see how it all works. This is from Jared Shears, just a great artist we're happy to be working with. And so I mentioned all that. Okay, so anyways, I want to keep this brief because frankly we got a lot of work to do if we're going to get this game out to you guys. And I know that this is sort of just a quick put together slideshow. I hope that's okay. We'll make a more formal, probably prettified announcement a little bit later when we have some time. But speaking back to that September 4th post where I talked about being legally schmeegly, paperwork, this is what we were working on. We wanted to get all of the details settled with the publisher. They were sort of loosely settled before, so it's not like we were out there in the wind. But we wanted to make sure that it was all legit. So that's what we wanted to announce today, is sort of the legitness of the whole thing. And we're super excited. We have a lot more to say, a lot more to share, a lot more to talk about, but we can kind of do that without the rush. So Samantha is on my starboard, and I'm guessing that, is there any questions I should answer? Emily, are you running the... If not, like, I'll just run and hide.
So the real thing is, if you have questions, spam the chat now so we can...
Yes, spam the chat now. I don't know what's been going on. I see chat going, but I can't read it. So anyways.
Everybody's excited. There's not as many questions so far.
Okay, well that's good.
There's actually a lot of positive, I like all that, so...
Okay, great. That's, well, good. I'm glad that could have gone the other way. Did I just talk really fast? Am I done in 5 minutes?
I think it was about 15 minutes.
Okay. So anyways, feel free to chitter chatter. I'll stall just a little bit. I will tell you, there's a couple kind of common questions that I think I can open, that I can answer directly. Hold on a second.
A question about, is there going to be co-op in any of them?
Okay, great. So I mentioned the first three adventure games are single player. Oh, so the question that Emily said, and you couldn't hear it, was whether or not there will be a co-op. And the fourth title, that in an earlier slide I had labeled The Pirate, that is a co-op game of the three characters that we introduced in the previous single-player games. So short answer is yes. And then on top of that, we expect that in each of the single-player episodes there will be some kind of extra material that's either co-op or party mode or something like that. But I don't want to speak about that in any specifics until we're ready. But that's the plan. So for example, in this first game, there's a stealth component. So the idea that you could play hide and seek with your friends is an idea that looks pretty good. Which, strictly speaking, isn't co-op, but whatever you want to call it, it's multiplayer. Is that the only one? So far, the only question. So that's good. And then just ask us. So we'll have more of the details and the links and the bits. We'll post that to Facebook and probably to our whole mailing list, just so that everyone has all the details, and that will be really good. I think that's Randy walking behind. It's okay, you can walk. Yes, Emily.
What systems and platforms will be used?
Okay, what systems and platforms? So expect Steam is where we're going to do early access first, and then of course we will continue with that. So Mac and PC. If someone wants to talk about Linux, we can, but I don't know yet. It always just depends on who can test it. We will also have Xbox One. We've already been talking to them. And we expect PlayStation, although frankly we haven't really broached the subject with Sony just yet. And then depending on kind of how things go, Escape the Gloomer in particular would be great for mobile, but we'll just have to see how that shapes up.
Is there early access on Xbox One?
We have to apply first, but I expect that there will be, although it won't be at the same date. So there's not time to get that set up by Christmas. So I can't do that now. To that point, though, the Steam build does support Xbox controllers, and I think PlayStation controllers just the same. So for what that's worth, if you prefer that experience, we already are supporting that. Yes, Emily?
Will you be able to buy outside of Steam?
In time, you will be able to buy outside of Steam. So So yes, we'll have other channels. I'm guessing probably places like Humble or now I can't think of that other one. I want to say Magog. Is that the name of the? So I'm sure there will be other channels besides Steam. Yes. Otherwise, we good? Okay. So I hope that that's okay. Gavin's raising his hand now.
Switch release. So
here's the deal with Switch. I would love to do Switch. Apparently, it depends on whether or not we get a dev kit. So I want to say, we'll see. It's not probably up to us entirely. So that would be awesome. And right now we're developing everything in Unity. So for our side, it's pretty easy to do. So that's a paperworky thing we just got to settle up. Probably not Ubuntu. Did I even pronounce that right? Ubuntu, however. So probably not that. And another hand, yes, sir.
What is the airspeed of an unladen swallow?
African or European swallow is the correct answer. And so there you go. What else have we? Any other things we got? Don't want to rush it. And I don't want to stand here awkwardly. Okay.
Can I stab a woodlander with a rusty knife?
So the question is, can I stab a woodlander with a rusty knife? No, that's actually not in the game. But thanks for asking, because it was something I guess was on our to-do list. I guess. Okay, thanks for that. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up. We can have other questions. Feel free to write them in. We'll make a post on Facebook, and you can put your questions there too. Who asked the rusty knife question? That was Nova, probably. Just like Nova.
It was Poochu Nice.
I don't think
and the chat kind of got upset a little bit at him.
Okay, so thank you for that, and we hope this is good news for you. It's certainly good news for us, and we're just tickled pink, because it's pink. That's right, and I'll go for there. And thank you very much for your time. And really, so here's the deal: we have been absolutely overwhelmed by how good Redwall fans have been to us this whole time, because I know it's been kind of fit and start and everything else, and y'all have really supported us, and we couldn't ask for more. So thank you, and if I don't get a chance to say it again, Merry Christmas. I guess that's it.